Welcome back to the CNR recap. I'm Griffin Aldrich. Alongside me, we got Tommy Martinotti, and your Boston Celtics have unfortunately been defeated by the Detroit Pistons with a final score of 112 to 105. Tommy, tough loss tonight. After playing the Bucks and having a devastating loss against that team, which that was a game we should have won, but we just shot very poorly that night. But this was a game that looked like we had the momentum at times in this game, and it looked like we're a 3 seed team, and we expected to be on the bottom end of it as well at the beginning of the season. However, we really became a dominant team, and now we gave the number one Detroit Pistons a run for their money. So, what are your initial thoughts after this loss by the Boston Celtics, which I believe we're still in third place? I'm not sure after this. Let's check really quick. Let's
I
see.
wouldn't be surprised if they dropped like one or two, but
Fourth place. Yeah, we're tied in fourth place with the Raptors, but we have the fourth place seed because we beat them. So we're in fourth, 15 and 11 now. The Magic slightly just bumped up one.
yeah, I mean, it was a good game. Very back and forth. Celtics came out pretty strong in that first half. And then we kind of saw a lot of fouls starting to take place in that third quarter. I think the referees, for some reason, I don't know, that third quarter was very slow and a lot of foul calls on both teams. I'm not just saying it was one sided, but just on both teams and kind of slowing the game down. And I feel like sometimes officials have to feel the game out, and I guess they thought in the moment that they have to kind of tighten up the game with calling more fouls, but a lot of back and forth. The Celtics up four at halftime. We saw Jordan Walsh get into some foul trouble, so that limited his minutes all night. Sam Hauser left the game in that first half with, I think it was an ankle or a knee. So we saw kind of our wing depth take a hit. Hugh Gonzalez also got into foul trouble. And I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Detroit is a very good team this year, one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. On the last podcast, we kind of talked about the Eastern Conference as a whole, and we kind of all agreed that Detroit and New York are definitely the two teams that we can all agree that are kind of head and shoulders above the Celtics right now. So I mean, the Celtics struggled from three. I don't know what the final number was, but I think it was 8 for 30 something. Yeah, 10 for 39 from three, 26%. So obviously that's not going to cut it. The Pistons shot 13 of 36 from three, which is 36%. So the Celtics did struggle from downtown. But I think there was points in this game where I think the Celtics could have ran away with it, and we can get in that in a minute. But not the worst thing that could happen. We knew this was going to be a tough one, which is why the Milwaukee game, was such. It felt like it was a game the Celtics needed to have, knowing that they have Detroit coming up tonight, and it wasn't going to be an easy game. So, the Celtics fought hard. They showed flashes. They could have, I feel like ran away with this game and certain points, but they didn't. And you just got to move on to the next one, really.
Yeah, and I think it hits so much harder too with the Milwaukee one because they just
They're,
lost
they're a
by
worse team. I mean, the Milwaukee's been one of the worst teams in the past month or two, and Detroit's been one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. So yeah, like you already said, that Milwaukee game hurt because in the back of your head that this next game against Detroit is going to be a down to the wire, tough physical game. The Celtics couldn't find a way to win in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, and again, even Tommy, I have to say too, like without Giannis, you still gotta capitalize on it too. There's so many factors why the Celtics should have won that one, but this one wasn't always competitive at towards well, it was competitive the whole game, Tommy. I lied about that one, but the highest leads Celtics were up by 12 with 11:07 in the second quarter, and the Pistons' highest lead was 10 at 5:53 in the fourth quarter. And you see, Tommy, with the differentials, like this was back and forth, 17 lead changes, and you just see it's a roller coaster. But the Pistons pretty much had it in the fourth quarter, and it didn't really from a differential standpoint, but it was competitive all the way through because in the first quarter, the Celtics outscored the Pistons with a score of 33-25. And in the second quarter, still same kind of same fashion as Celtics were down by 4, 28-24. And then in that third quarter, the Pistons kept the momentum 32-24, and they stayed with that momentum in the fourth quarter 27-24. So, the Pistons pretty much had the Celtics 3 quarters out of 4, but the Celtics still fought. And if you watch the game, you would see that the Celtics were in it the whole time. Like 17 lead changes, it was back and forth all the time. The differentials don't really show that, but it was a lot closer of a game than it looked on chart.
Yeah, I mean, to be expected, I think, with the Celtics at home and, playing solid basketball recently. I feel like you kind of felt like this was going to be a back and forth battle, and that's exactly what we got. Just some guys got into some foul trouble, limiting kind of our defense. I feel like a little bit with Walsh only playing 18 minutes because he was in a lot of foul trouble in that first half, and he didn't start the second half. And then we saw Hugo Gonzalez, who did start the second half, get into foul trouble as well. And obviously Hauser went out with that injury, so he only played 4 minutes. And then that allowed Jaylen Brown to have to play 40 minutes tonight. We saw him kind of come out in the 9-minute mark in that fourth quarter when we were down 8. So I think that at that point in the game, when kind of Brown came out those 9 minutes, I was kind of worried that the Celtics kind of roll over and Detroit could run away with it, but that did not happen. The Celtics kind of battled their way back. Derek White had a huge fourth quarter with 14 points in the fourth. Something I noted and where I was kind of looking for the Celtics to kind of get back into this game and possibly take a lead was at the 7-minute mark. Cade Cunningham picked up his 5th foul with the Celtics only down 3. Then we kind of saw a few guys for Detroit's bench step up. Javonte Green had that big steal off of Pritchard, leading to the huge dunk. I think that got Detroit's lead back up to 10. Then he got the technical foul. So then the Celtics, got another opportunity and eventually made their way back into the game with a few tough buckets by White. Then another quick note that, what stood out to me after seeing the outcome of the game was Jaylen Brown from the free throw line. I feel like pretty much Jaylen Brown's whole career, one thing that I've noticed is he has never been a great free throw shooter. I don't think he's ever been over 80% in his career. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he's been pretty much in the low to mid 70s his entire career. And tonight, again, we kind of saw, those struggles from him. He's not a terrible free throw shooter by any means, but a night like tonight going 50% from the line off 14 attempts in a game you lose by 7 points. I mean, that's something you can look back on and say, hey, he hits 4 more of those, 5 more of those, hits all of those. We're looking at a totally different outcome. So kind of those two things, along with the Celtics, again, struggling from 3. That's 2 games in a row now. But I think you can kind of take that as a positive as well, shooting as poorly as they did, but still, staying in striking distance the whole way and being up at a lot of times in this game was, I guess you could kind of turn that into a little bit of a positive. But I feel like those are kind of the few things that I looked at, a few timestamps and things that happened where, a few things go the Celtics' way and they kind of take advantage of Cunningham being on the bench for those 3 to 4 minutes. But instead, you kind of saw Detroit gain momentum back and the Celtics have to fight all the way back again. So I feel like, if they took advantage of those minutes while Cade Cunningham was on the bench, then I feel like that was their opportunity to kind of get a lead back in this one. But yeah.
Sorry, Tommy. I didn't mean to laugh on that one. It's a night, the Celtics lose. Tommy, can I say one thing that I love what you said there though on Jaylen Brown? I agree, and I've always seen it as an issue that he cannot make his foul shots. Like, I have been highlighting that, and I've brought it up in many podcasts, I feel, too, like, that he needs to make those. Like, I don't know if it's just extra practice at the line. Like, what does that
I
take?
mean, it can be extra practice. Like, Jalen Brown's taking more than enough free throws.
Yeah.
Very sure on a daily basis to, he expects to hit them in game. And we know that as fans that, Jalen Brown isn't prepared at the free throw line going into a game. It's just something that he's struggled with throughout his career a little bit. I feel like me and a few of my friends that kind of watch Celtics games, every time he's at the free throw line in a big situation, we just go, oh, 1 for 2. Like, 1 for 2 is coming here. Like, he's going to make 1 out of 2. And then he'll hit 1 to 2 and we'll kind of laugh at each other, or he'll make both. And it's like, yeah, well, he proved us wrong there. But yeah, just a little note where, we've seen Brown obviously elevate his game to another level this season, but, just, I guess, the one thing that he can improve upon, I guess you can say right now, is just being more consistent at the free throw line when it matters.
Yeah, Tommy, my little thing I used to do when I would watch games with my brothers is I would shut my eyes and say, "Did he make them?" I used to do that. I think it was the playoff run. I don't know what year it was. I don't know if it was.
Maybe it was when Tatum was a rookie and they went on that big playoff run with like Rozier and that young squad when Kyrie was out.
Geez, it was that year. It was 22 and 24.
Yeah, I mean, they're all, yeah, it could have been.
Every year, it's like, oh my gosh, did he make them? But, that being said, though, he still had a big game. And one thing I wanted to highlight, too, is if you guys missed this game, the action in it was crazy. Like, there were technicals after technicals. Jaylen Brown got into it with Isaiah Stewart. Who are you taking in a fight, Isaiah Stewart or Jaylen Brown?
I love JB, but
they
said on the broadcast that Isaiah Stewart's dad is like a boxer. Brian Scalabrine said that at one point, so I don't know. I have no idea if that's true or not, but I'm going to take his word for it. Jalen Stewart, man, I don't know. That's a big dude right there. He's I don't know.
I think he was arrested. He's a scrappy.
Yeah, he's a scrappy guy. He's not scared to mix it up in there.
I'd be scared if I had to go against him. He's a big dude, I have to say. Yeah, but I don't want to discredit Jaylen Brown tonight, even from the foul free throw shots, though, because he still had a good game. But like you said, Tommy, if he made those, we would have been so much closer. And you have to hit those because at the end of the day, that could decide a game.
Yeah, I mean, he missed 7 and they lose by 7. Not saying they lost the game because he missed 7 free throws. Obviously, there's a million other things that we can look at and point at as to why they lost this game as well. But just your superstar and free throws being they call it a free throw for a reason. It's one of the easiest ways you can score in basketball. So just something to note. And obviously, we just talked about Brown's little history of having his moments of struggling at the free throw line. You'd like to see him just be a little more consistent in these bigger games.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But if you wanted to get into player points, because there were some big games, big nights for the Celtics, and a big night for one of the Pistons stars as well.
Yeah, for the Pistons, Jalen Duren, who's had an all-star caliber year so far, the Celtics did a great job of keeping him quiet all night. He only had 6 points and 3 rebounds. He's kind of been a double-double machine all season. So I think Keita and Minot and even, smaller wings that had to, put a body on Duren did a good job on, limiting his opportunities around the rim and in the paint. And then Cade Cunningham, a growing superstar in today's game. Huge game from him, 32 points, 6 of 10 from 3, 10 assists. We saw him hit a few tough shots down the stretch of the game. He's just a great player. He's a young guy that's, gaining confidence after every season. They got some playoff experience last year, which was, I think, key for them. And, moving into future years, and he's a superstar. So you gotta pay your respect to other guys around the league, and a ton of great players in this league, and he's definitely made a huge leap this year. A guaranteed all-star, and who knows, he could be in some MVP talks by the end of the season as well. Then going into the Celtics stats, Keita only had 6 points. He did have 7 rebounds. I think Keita had a solid night tonight. Again, limiting Duren offensively as well. Jaylen Brown, another huge game from him. He had 34. 7 assists, 8 rebounds. He did have 4 turnovers, though. That's one thing that I noticed with him and White, both having 4 turnovers. Them two having 8 turnovers. You like to see that number get lowered a bit. I think the Celtics had some, bad time to turn the ball over. We saw Pritchard have one tough one where Javonte Green had that huge steal and dunk. And then Pritchard was another guy that, I want to highlight as well. He had all 12 of his points in the first half tonight. He was 5 of 6 from the floor in the first half, and then he finished 5 of 14. So obviously not hitting a shot in the second half. We saw him airball that 3 in the last minute, which we never see out of Pritchard. Obviously a great shooter, and every Celtics fan should have confidence in him, having a bounce back game and, having a big moment for, this team moving forward this season. And we talked about Jordan Walsh already, only getting 18 minutes because of foul trouble. He still had a good impact on the game, I thought. Only 8 points. He had 6 rebounds. He's always good on the glass, plays hard defensively. Just that youth, I think, got him in, a little bit of trouble tonight with those fouls. I thought a few of them were a little ticky-tacky, but that's not really my call. He was in foul trouble, so he got limited playing time tonight, and that hurts a team like the Celtics who have seen such great success with him being on the floor. So I think that hurt the Celtics a little bit tonight. And then the bench was pretty quiet tonight, only 9 bench points, which was another factor into why I think Detroit pulled away in this one. The bench points, Anthony Simons having 9 points, 3 of 9 from the field, and going 0 for 5 from 3. So another guy that's had a few cold games from behind the arc for the C's. But that kind of wraps it up. White and Brown carried the load offensively for the most part tonight. All around great basketball game from both sides, very competitive. You already said it, 17 lead changes. So competitive back and forth game. This is going to be a tough one, and just a few plays short from pulling this one out. But that kind of wraps it up for all the player stats.
Yeah, Tommy, I want to ask, what do the Celtics have to do in order to kind of get back on track? You've had a tough game against Milwaukee in this game. I wouldn't necessarily call it a tough game. It was rough for the bench because you mentioned that, and players could not step up, like Josh Minot, who didn't have any points, played 13 minutes. Guys not being played like Luka Garza, Tillman, as we've already mentioned. But how do the Celtics bounce back from this?
I think they just have to see the ball go through the hoop a little bit from behind the arc. Shooting is very contagious, and I think we see that a lot with this Celtics team, especially the way they want to play. Obviously, they shoot a ton of threes. So they've just been struggling from behind the arc the past 2 nights. So I think, once they see a few shots go in, we'll kind of see them kind of score in spurts and create larger leads against the teams that they're going against. I was, though, surprised to see Tillman, Garza, and Williams all get DNPs tonight, just due to kind of the size that Detroit has. They were throwing like Minot out there to guard Isaiah Stewart at points, and it felt like Minot was a little bit overmatched with Stewart. And it's not to discredit Minot at all. Stewart's one of the strongest guys in the NBA, and I think this could have been an opportunity to kind of see what Amari Williams gives you in a bigger game. But I'm not Missoula, and he kind of knows what matchups are best for this team. But I was kind of surprised to see, none of our bigs get minutes at all. Boucher, Tillman, Williams, and Garza all getting DNPs against a Detroit team that, has some solid bigs with Stewart and Duren. So that's something that I was also a little surprised by.
Yeah, I especially you could say Amari Williams because he's a rookie and all right, not experienced, but I would even throw a guy out there like Xavier Tillman, who has experience and has that size.
Yeah. Tillman or Garza. I feel like Garza has given this team sparks off the bench, especially scoring in the paint. He just plays hard every time he's out there. So we haven't seen a lot of Garza recently.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of see what happens with him moving forward in his minutes.
Yeah, well said. But again, Tommy, this was a close game, and it looked like at times it was like, oh, the Celtics could actually win this one, but ultimately it came down to their 3-point shooting. And It was rough. Players were not shooting well again, kind of like you mentioned, Pritchard not doing anything in the second half. I was very impressed with Derek White down the stretch, but he couldn't do it all by himself. It takes a team effort. But do you have any final thoughts before we close out this one, Tommy?
Hopefully they can bounce back in the next few games and kind of pick up, start a little new winning streak, hopefully, because I predicted 2-0 on the podcast and I jinxed it, I guess. So I'll go with a little less optimistic moving forward, and maybe that's why.
I think that's been the role this year because I think like when we get ahead of ourselves and are too optimistic, stuff happens. But we look to
Myself, yeah.
Yeah, but we look to bounce back against Miami Heat on Friday. And you guys stay tuned for the Christmas special as well. If you guys don't do Christmas, happy holidays from here. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. The Boston Celtics were defeated by the Pistons with a final score of 112 to 105. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you guys with the next one. Peace, guys.